Hey, Lewis. Okay, so if you really get stuck, first of all, I'm going to sort of, before making any changes, always have a backup of your site. I think whenever I do video tutorials from now on, I'm just going to suggest that as a preemptive in case something doesn't work. But, so make a backup of your site. Then you can try this out. We want to change the font color and stuff, so we're going to go back into the Nebo Slider CSS. Okay, and what we're looking for is no, it's not. It's not in there. It's in the fonts.css. I'm awfully sure. Global component styles, SEO1, top bar. Nebo, there it is, right there. Nebo caption, right here. That's where all your puppies are right there. So the color, the font size, shadow, that sort of a thing. That's where your good stuff is there. Now that's the caption, that's the text bit, and there's also a H3 right there, then the read more. So that's where all your font styling is for your Nebo slider. Okay, let me just go back to your ticket here for a sec. So that's one of those good thing you asked, because no, I actually wasn't in the Nebo slider, even though I initially thought so too, and then I realized, of course not, it's in the fonts.css because it's a font type rendering. Now, that takes care of that, but we want to change the transition. So you only have really two options. You can have kind of random, or you can specify the action, the transition, or you can type in fade. Let me show you. jQuery Nebo slider, and here's what you're going to need to do. You're going to need to do it for the Nebo slider small as well. Okay, so we're going to scroll on down for both of these pages. See how it's random? And random, change it to fade. Okay, that's the default transition, fade. That's just a nice smooth transition from one to another without any weird stuff going on, and it's probably the best go-to transition to use. There are others, but they're all choppier than that. Fade is the best one to go with if you want to keep the client happy. But do it for both. Now the reason you're doing it for both is this. Or you can just do it for your jQuery Nebo slider and then do the following. Go into your index page and scroll on down to the this area here in the code and get rid of the Nebo slider small. Okay, the reason we want to do this is because you know the pages are set up so that you can randomly change from a primary to a secondary to a minimized simply by changing the style sheet, right? And when you change a style sheet, it basically turns one component like the Nebo slider off, and it turns the Nebo slider small on, done through CSS, right? But the problem is when it's a piece of JavaScript that uses the same variable, i.e. the effect, the one that is actually loaded last, which would be the Nebo slider small, that is the one that actually takes precedence because it's cached. So you actually have to physically remove it from the page on the index page. So I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, just make sure you do it in both. You know what? If the client wants a smooth effect, you're probably going to want to put them on both anyway. So fade here and fade there, and that way they're not saying, well, my other slider is still choppy, right? So